There is one angel even Michael and Lucifer feared. He didn't fight battles. He didn't bring messages. He ended stories. Silently. Without warning. His presence meant one thing. Your time was over. They called him Azrael, the angel of death. Some believed he could remove the soul with a whisper. Others said the moment he appeared, the soul knew it was time. And when he came, even the greatest angels stepped aside. This is Secret Origins, and today we are telling the story of the scariest angel that ever lived. Welcome. Long ago, before time was counted and before humans walked the earth, there was no such thing as death. The world was not yet complete. Life had not begun, and so the end of life was not yet part of creation. But all of that changed with one single choice. In the beginning, the first man, Adam, was created and placed in a perfect garden. This place, known as Eden, was peaceful and without pain. It was a gift, but when Adam and Eve disobeyed God and took from the tree that had been forbidden to them, they introduced something new into the world: sin. And with sin came the consequence that had never existed before: death. From that moment, death became a reality for all of humanity. Humans would no longer live forever. Instead, they would be born, grow old, and eventually die. And because death was now part of the world, someone had to be responsible for carrying out this new part of the human story. But not just any angel could be given this task. Among the many angels in the heavens, there were warriors like Michael, messengers like Gabriel, and other angels who performed special duties. Each had a role, but the task of bringing death, of ending life and guiding souls to the next world, was something different. It required courage, obedience, and an unusual kind of strength. The strength to do what no one else would want to do. So God gave a command. He asked his angels to go to the earth and collect the dust from which Adam would be formed. This dust would be used to create the first human body, the vessel for a soul. One by one, the archangels were sent to complete this task. Some sources say that Michael tried, but the earth cried out and asked him not to take its soil. Others say Gabriel approached the earth and felt compassion for it, leaving it untouched. Each time, the angel returned to God without the dust, unable or unwilling to carry it away. Then God sent Azrael. At that time, Azrael was not yet the angel of death. He was simply one among the angels, faithful, obedient, and silent. But when he was sent, Azrael went to the earth and did what none of the others would do. He gathered the dust, even as the earth wept and begged to be left alone. Some stories say that Azrael spoke to the earth and promised to return the dust in time. Others say he said nothing at all. What mattered most was that he completed the mission and brought the dust back to God. And with that single act, everything changed. Azrael had proven something that none of the others had. He had shown that he could carry out the most difficult task without delay, without complaint, and without letting emotion stand in the way. Because of that, God gave him a role unlike any other. Azrael would become the one responsible for the beginning and the end. He would be the one to guide the soul from its creation to its final moment in the body, and then carry it beyond. From that point on, Azrael was no longer just an angel. He became Malak al-Maut, the angel of death. Azrael's success in collecting the dust from earth was a sign that he alone could bear the weight of death. No other angel had the heart to do it. It was not because they were weak, but because the role was too heavy, and the name Azrael, meaning help of God in Hebrew, became linked with this function. to help the soul cross from this life to whatever came next. Azrael is known across Islamic and Jewish traditions as the Angel of Death. But his work is much more than simply ending life. His main responsibility is to separate the soul from the body at the appointed time of death. But taking a soul is only part of what he does. In both religious texts and oral traditions, Azrael is described as a psychopomp, a being whose role is to guide souls from the physical world into the afterlife. He doesn't just end the connection between body and soul. He helps carry that soul forward, beyond this life, toward whatever awaits on the other side. That passage might lead to peace, reward, or judgment. But Azrael's task is to make sure it begins. He is the one who opens that door. According to several traditions, Azrael carries a divine scroll or record, sometimes described as a book, on which the names of all human beings are written. When a person is born, their name is added to this list. When they die, their name is erased. The scroll represents the ongoing awareness Azrael has over all living people. He does not act based on emotion or personal judgment. He waits for the moment when the scroll tells him it is time. This scroll shows that Azrael's job is deeply connected to destiny. He does not randomly appear, nor does he choose who dies and when. He only acts when God gives him the command. This is an important part of his nature. Unlike the rebellious angel Lucifer, or even the warrior Michael who leads battles on God's behalf, Azrael is completely obedient. He does not act on his own. He serves a specific function that only activates when the divine will calls for it. Even though he does not act independently, Azrael's reach is unlike any other angel in existence. While other angels might protect, deliver messages, or fight in certain places and times, Azrael's task applies to every single living being on earth. No matter where someone lives, what language they speak, or what they believe, every soul eventually passes through Azrael's care. From ancient times to the present, from the tallest mountains to the deepest cities, Azrael's responsibility never ends. That alone sets him apart from other angels. There's another part of his duty that is just as fascinating. Azrael does not always appear in person. In fact, many traditions teach that he often sends lesser angels to carry out his work. These assistants, sometimes called the angels of death in plural form, follow his direction and are involved in collecting the souls of the dead. These angels may be gentle or terrifying, depending on the life a person lived and the destiny that awaits them. This system shows us something important. Azrael is not just a servant, but a leader. He is in charge of an entire network of spiritual beings whose task is to help him maintain balance across the world. In some interpretations, these assisting angels take on more responsibility in times of war, disaster, or mass death, where Azrael's reach must extend quickly across many lives. In other moments, he may come personally, especially to saints, prophets, or people whose lives carried special meaning. And while many fear him, others view him as a necessary part of existence. Without Azrael, there would be no end. Without the end, there could be no new beginning. His task is there simply to ensure that the great cycle continues, exactly as it was designed to. Azrael was trusted with one of the most important responsibilities in all of creation, bringing every soul from life to death. To carry out such a task, he needed more than obedience. He needed a level of power that no other angel possessed, And that's exactly what ancient texts suggest. Descriptions of Azrael's true form go far beyond anything we see in depictions of other angels. According to various Islamic sources, Azrael's appearance is so vast, so overwhelming, that it cannot even be compared to the human form. He is said to have 4 faces, each one allowing him to look in a different direction: north, south, east, and west. This detail shows that Azrael is always watching, always aware of what is happening in every part of the world. But his faces are just the beginning. Azrael is also described as having wings. These are not like the wings shown in paintings or stories, where angels appear as glowing humans with feathers. His wings are said to stretch across different worlds. Some are wings of grace, associated with peace, mercy, and the escorting of righteous souls. Others are wings of punishment, terrifying in their appearance and function. These wings are said to be made of iron rods, sharp hooks, and heavy scissors to cut and tear. These wings are reserved for souls marked by sin, and they reflect a different side of death, one that brings fear rather than peace. And then there's the size. Some Islamic scholars, such as Ibn Ja'far al-Wa'ith and others who wrote classical commentaries, described Azrael as having thousands of feet and hands. Each one is said to serve a purpose, connected to his ability to interact with countless souls at the same time. These numbers are used to explain how one being can carry out his task across every nation, every people, every person. His form is beyond what the human mind can imagine, and it must be because his job spans all of Earth. But perhaps the most remarkable and chilling detail is this. Azrael's body is said to be entirely covered with eyes and tongues. Each eye and each tongue is connected to a living soul on Earth. That means Azrael's very form reflects the current population of the world at any given moment. His eyes see every individual. His tongues represent the voice or presence of each life. And here's where it gets truly unsettling. When a person dies, one of those eyes or tongues disappears. It vanishes from his body, showing that the life it represented has come to an end. In many traditions, Azrael's appearance is not fixed. It constantly changes based on the number of living beings on the planet. His body is in sync with human existence itself. In some narrations, Azrael carries a flaming whip, a weapon that represents divine power and authority. It is used to command other spiritual beings and enforce God's will. Another powerful image comes from reports that the entire earth appears to Azrael as small as a bowl in his hand. Some scholars described it as being no larger than a dish or a tiny vessel. This means he can reach any location instantly. Distance, borders, and time mean nothing to him. The idea here is clear. Azrael does not travel. He does not search. He already knows where every person is, and he can reach them without effort. And if that isn't enough to understand the scale of his power, some accounts go even further. In Islamic theology, there is a group of angels known as the bearers of the throne. These are said to be the largest and most powerful angels in creation. Their only role is to support the throne of God, and their size is described in nearly cosmic terms. But according to some scholars, even these angels are smaller than Azrael. This detail gives us an important clue. Azrael is not terrifying because he is cruel. He is terrifying because of what he is. This is the point where we begin to understand why even beings like Michael and Lucifer would fear him, not because Azrael was against them, but because he was beyond them. Unlike other angels, Azrael does not appear the same to everyone. His form changes depending on the life a person has lived and the state of their soul in its final moments. This also makes him different from angels, who carry out fixed tasks in fixed ways. Azrael's role is connected to the soul itself, its purity, its regrets, its readiness. How he appears depends on who is seeing him. Those who lived righteous lives, the saints, prophets, and deeply faithful people, see Azrael as a figure of peace. To them, he does not appear dark or frightening. Instead, he comes in a gentle form, often described as beautiful, calm, or even shining with light. In these moments, Azrael's presence brings comfort. He gives the soul time to understand what is happening and escorts it with care. Some traditions describe this encounter as one filled with radiance and warmth, as if the soul is being greeted by a familiar and trusted guardian. Stories passed down through generations say that the Prophet Muhammad and Moses were approached by Azrael himself, not by one of his assisting angels. In both cases, he offered a respectful invitation to leave the world. But not every soul is met in this way. For those who lived with cruelty, dishonesty, or rebellion in their hearts, Azrael appears in a different form. In these cases, he comes not with peace, but with overwhelming force. His appearance becomes a reflection of what the soul fears most. His presence is described as heavy, cold, and terrifying. Some traditions say that sinners feel their soul being ripped away, rather than gently lifted. There is no comfort in these final moments, only fear, regret, and pain. This dual nature of Azrael is part of his design. He reflects the truth of the person's life back to them. What the soul gave to the world is what the soul receives in return. But these appearances are not always seen only at the moment of death. There are stories of Azrael appearing to people in dreams or visions, especially when their time is near. These dreams often carry warnings, reminders, or messages to prepare the soul. In some cases, the vision is peaceful. In others, it is a wake-up call. One well-known example comes from Rumi, the famous Sufi poet and spiritual teacher. According to tradition, as Rumi neared death, he met Azrael in a human form. This meeting was not filled with fear. It was peaceful. Rumi accepted it calmly, knowing that the time had come. Another example is found in the writings of Nasir Khusrau, a Persian poet and philosopher. He wrote about seeing Azrael in a dream, who told him that his time was near. This dream gave him time to reflect, pray, and prepare himself. In these stories, Azrael is a messenger of transition, a guide who helps the soul step into its next stage. If you're still wondering why Azrael inspired fear even among the greatest angels, the answer becomes clearer when you understand what his presence truly meant. Every time he appeared, something ended. This did not apply only to humans. It applied to angels as well. Ancient legends describe a deep, instinctive stillness that spread through the heavens whenever Azrael was near. Angels who sang, fought, or served in harmony paused when he passed. Gabriel carried messages. Michael led battles. Israfil stood ready to sound the final trumpet. But Azrael's mission was different. He did not arrive with warnings. He arrived with certainty. When he moved, even the most powerful beings gave way. Some traditions say that Azrael could, if God commanded, take the soul of any being, even one of the angels. so he operated beyond the boundaries of time, conflict, or revelation. He did not belong to the stories of war or prophecy. He belonged to the final chapter. In one narration, the bearers of God's throne, angels known for their immense size and authority, lowered their gaze when Azrael appeared in the divine presence. His authority came not from rank, but from function. He represented the end of every command, every mission, and every life. Azrael worked alone. His path did not intersect with that of warriors or messengers. He was the last stop on the divine road, and once he arrived, no voice, no strength, and no plea could change what came next. That's why even the archangels, mighty, radiant, and chosen, respected his silence. Because his silence meant the story was over. But are Azrael and death the same thing? Or are they different? In many traditions, death is not simply an event. It is a being, created by God just like the angels. According to some ancient Islamic narrations, death was formed as a separate creation, distinct from Azrael. It was not just a process. It had form, weight, and presence. When God created death, he presented it before the angels, but the sight of it overwhelmed them. Every angel who saw death fainted for 1,000 years. The experience was too much for even the strongest celestial beings. That alone gives us a clue. If even the angels collapsed before death, what kind of being could control it? The moment when God gave Azrael command over death itself is key. It shows that Azrael was not created by death. He was placed above it. While other angels worked with light, sound, and fire, Azrael carried something far more absolute, the very boundary between life and what comes next. In some traditions, scholars and mystics explain this by saying that Azrael did not just deliver death. He became its form. He did not follow death. Death followed him. This idea becomes even more powerful in the stories about the end of time. After Judgment Day, when every soul has been judged, and paradise and hell are fully divided, one last task remains. According to Hadith traditions, God will take death itself, now in the form of a ram, and place it between heaven and hell. Then, before all creation, God will slay the ram. In that moment, death itself will end, and with it, Azrael's role will come to a close. This marks the final change. Azrael, who once stood at the edge of every life, will have completed the full circle. His work will be finished, and eternity will begin. So maybe Azrael was not just a servant of death. Maybe he was death, shaped by divine command. Because of everything we've seen so far, it's no surprise that today many people associate Azrael with the Grim Reaper. But unlike the Grim Reaper, who is often shown as cold or frightening, Azrael's origins show him as both feared and honored. He carries out God's will, not personal judgment. Azrael's name also appears in poems, books, and even popular entertainment. Over time, his role as the angel of death inspired writers, thinkers, and artists across the world, especially in the West. In the 19th century, American poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow referred to Azrael as an angel who gently collects souls, giving his presence a solemn but peaceful tone. Around the same time, Leigh Hunt wrote The Reaper and the Flowers, where Azrael appears as a quiet figure in black, arriving not to harm, but to guide. British writer G.K. Chesterton also referenced Azrael in his poetry. In his works, Azrael is described as a powerful force called upon during moments of great spiritual battle, showing the angel's lasting importance even outside the original religious context. Over the years, the name Azrael became more familiar to the general public. In the 1980s cartoon, The Smurfs, the villain Gargamel named his cat Azrael, a small detail that hints at the angel's place in cultural memory. Even in a light-hearted setting, the name still carried a link to the mysterious, the dark, and the inevitable. This makes Azrael more than a symbol. He is not just a shadow or a myth. He is a character that crosses boundaries between life and death, religion and folklore, fear and comfort. And now that you've heard Azrael's story, how do you see him? As a dark figure to fear, or as a guardian of life's final step? Is he the terrible ending we all dread, or the gentle guide who helps us cross from one existence to another? Perhaps the answer depends on how we live our lives. Perhaps Azrael shows us not just how we die, but how we have chosen to live. In the end, he may be both the most feared and most necessary angel of all. The one who makes sure that every story, no matter how it began, finds its proper ending. The angel of death stands at the edge of every life, waiting with infinite patience. He is not cruel. He is not kind. He simply is what he was created to be. The final word in every human story. The last angel we will ever meet. If you enjoyed this story, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Next, watch our movie on Lucifer, the angel who became the devil. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again,